What's up everyone, Pat with Untitled Fitness coming at you today with part 2 of our bench press tension series. We just got this mural painted on the wall, pretty excited about it. So today we are going to be covering how to maintain tension during the actual press itself. So if you didn't catch part 1 of this series, be sure to check out our channel and go watch that. That is how to create tension in the setup of the bench. So we're going to kind of pick up where we left off and talk about creating tension and maintaining tension while you are actually performing reps in the bench press. Now, before we get into covering all of these tips, I want to start out by saying that the tips covered in this video are what I have found to be the best way to coach the bench press exercise. They may not work for everyone, and a lot of what I'm going to cover today is more conceptual than anything. So as a concept overall, when you are bench pressing, we are trying to get as much tension throughout your entire body as possible. So that means tension through your legs, tension through your hips, your core, your shoulders. If you lose tension during a bench press exercise, it is nearly impossible to get it back because your body will shift out of position and you will have a harder time pressing. So the biggest thing about a bench press, especially if your main goal is to move the most amount of weight possible, is we want to try and shorten up that range of motion as much as possible. So that means having your chest nice and high off the bench, having your shoulders pinned back, and creating a position where you don't have to move super far. So if you do a really good setup and you create a lot of tension, but then after the first rep you lose a lot of tension out of your lats, your torso is going to sink, which is going to require you to move the bar farther than you actually should if you maintain the initial tension that you created. So when you are bench pressing, what I would recommend is take some videos of yourself, watch yourself pressing, and see what is going on with your body. Are your feet moving? Is your torso collapsing? Is the bar going to roughly the same spot as you are pressing? And over time, you want to try and work on these things and get to the point where most of your reps look similar from rep to rep, and to the point where you are not seeing any movement in your torso. So that means no drop, nothing like that. So anyway, let's get into it. The first part of maintaining tension on a bench press is a proper unrack. When unracking the bar, I've found that it is best to think about pushing through the bench to lift the bar off of the rack. We are not trying to push our hands into the bar to lift the bar up. We are trying to push our shoulders into the pad and our feet into the floor. What this will do is keep our body glued to the bench as we take the bar out of the rack. The second thing that we want to try and do is once the bar is off of the J-cups, we want to squeeze our lats and pull the bar into position over our chest. Pulling the bar over us with our lats will help create tension as we get the bar over our body and get ready to start the press. The next part of what I want to cover is breathing during the bench press. What we want to do is utilize the Valsalva method when performing a bench press. What the Valsalva method is it's where you take a deep breath and hold the breath as you are performing the exercise. The reason why we want to do this is it keeps the torso and the body locked in place so that there is no movement as we are doing the press itself. Notice how during these reps, I am finishing each rep, rebreathing, and then repeating the next rep. We want to prevent rushing from rep to rep, as this could create less tension as you are doing the exercise. During the breath, what we can do is create tension through our lats. The way that this is created for most is by slightly tucking the elbows as we begin the press. Notice how as I take my breath here, I pull my elbows towards my body. At the same time, I am also thinking about pulling my shoulder blades towards my butt. One of the main roles of the lats is to control the shoulder blade. The reason why we want to activate our lats is it allows us to keep our shoulder blades pinned as we are pressing the bar. It also helps to squeeze the bar very tight during this step. What many newer lifters misunderstand about the bench press is the bench press is not a movement where the barbell moves straight up and down. The barbell for most people actually moves on a slight diagonal angle. Notice how the barbell in this video is moving down towards the bottom of my chest and then back towards my shoulder blades. When we do this, we want to make sure that our elbows are in the right position to press the bar back upwards. So, if we are in the right position, our elbows should be slightly tucked underneath the barbell at the bottom of the movement, not directly beneath it. The last piece that we are going to cover before we cover the press is maintaining foot pressure while you are completing the exercise. The reason why we want to maintain foot pressure is it allows the torso and hips to stay in the position that they started in. If foot pressure is lost during the exercise, the torso and hips will collapse, making the exercise harder by increasing the range of motion. So when pressing, we want to keep focus on driving our feet into the floor. Notice how, in this video, my feet are not at the exact same position on each side. This is very normal, as many people have varying degrees of hip mobility, so don't worry about getting your feet exactly next to each other. Worry about getting them into a position where you feel lots of tension and are able to maintain. The press itself is very similar to everything that we have done. When we press the bar, we want to focus on maintaining tension through our legs, through our shoulders, and through our torso. When we press the bar, we want to think about a few things: driving pressure through our feet, driving pressure through our shoulders into the bench, and driving our elbows up into the bar and outwards as we break off of our chest. This will allow us to keep tension and drive the bar very hard back to the starting position. Now that we've covered a lot of the major parts of maintaining tension on a bench press, I want to cover some common mistakes that I see people make when they are learning how to press or when they are performing the press that can rob them of tension during the exercise. The most common mistake I see people make, newer and older lifter alike, is letting the bar sink into their chest at the bottom of the exercise. The reason why we want to prevent this from happening is it creates a longer range of motion that we need to push the bar back towards. The second thing that happens is usually the shoulders and elbows move out of place when the bar sinks into the chest, and it makes getting the bar off of you a little bit harder. One thing that we want to try and avoid when pressing is breathing as we are moving throughout the exercise. The reason why this is it causes our torso to move upwards and downwards as we are pressing. This can create reps that are not the same from rep to rep, and it can also create a loss of tension as we are pushing the bar back upwards. So instead of breathing while you are pressing, make sure that you're holding your breath. This is another common mistake I see, especially among newer lifters. What happens is they try to come down and up at the same speed. The reason why this is not ideal is usually the barbell will sink into your chest and also will hit the chest very hard, creating the possibility of a loss of tension during the press. So instead of descending quickly, try descending slowly and gradually within control. Another common mistake that I see is people either lifting or losing their footing as they press. Notice how as I lift my feet, my torso drops. This creates a problem because it creates a longer range of motion for us to have to press the bar. Also, because we lose tension, it makes it much harder to push the bar back up. So make sure that when you are pressing that you are maintaining pressure throughout your feet. The last mistake that I see is people losing elbow position at the bottom of a press. The main reason why I see this happens is most people will maintain tension until they get about an inch or two off their chest. And then instead of tucking their elbows in, they will let their elbows flare out to the sides and drop the bar onto their body. If the descent is performed correctly, you should feel tension all the way down until the bar touches your chest. Another way to prevent this mistake is instead of letting the bar hit your chest hard, let it gradually graze your chest and not sink in. As we bring this video to a close, I want to cover a few things. So the first thing that I want to cover is, I know I threw a lot at you today. It is important to remember that if you have any of these issues with your bench, you are not going to fix them right away. I would also not recommend trying to fix more than one thing or focus on more than one thing at a time. So the tricky part when executing an exercise is we don't want to detract effort from that movement. So when you're performing a bench press, if you're thinking about 500 things or trying to fix 500 things, you are going to take away from the actual effort that you were giving that exercise. So instead of trying to fix everything at once, what I would recommend is start with one thing, you feel the thing that will make the most difference, and try to start working on that. That way you can focus on a singular cue as you're pressing, and you are not going to be taking away from the effort that you're putting into that exercise. The second thing is that we can use a lot of exercises to fix these problems, and that is the mark of a good program, is the assistance work that's put in it to deal with the issues that the specific lifter is facing. So make sure to tune in for video part number 3 that will be released either this week or the following. That will cover particular exercises that you can use to fix each of these problems when you're benching. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, and as always, stay strong.